Our goal is simple: to help you achieve the dream and vision you first had when you thought about starting a business. We're here to make growing your business less complicated. There are building blocks to build a sustainable business. We promise to seek them out and address them all. The Better Your Business Show starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the Better Your Business Show. Learn from our experts how to better your business. I'm Natalie Essman, financial strategist and your host. On our panel this morning, we have social media professor Todd Social.
Good morning to all those that are out there and listening in, because this is about bettering your business.
Yes. So whether you are joining us live or watching the replay, make sure you take your free business assessment at pillar5.com and join us in our studio where we can address any questions or concerns you have throughout the show.
We all know that building a business doesn't come with an instruction manual. Our goal is simply to turn your roadblocks into bite-sized pieces that will help you better your business.
That's right. So today we are going to be going into virtual prospecting, which I'm super excited about, especially, just what we've been going through with COVID. I know a lot of businesses have had to pivot and do things differently. And I love this topic so much because I know in business, a lot of times people are just using the old throw the spaghetti noodle at the wall and hope that it sticks. Let's hope that it's ready. So I love that this morning we're going to be going over exactly how to do that. It was funny. I had read a post from a friend of mine who's in real estate. She does very well for herself in real estate. And she had posted that 95% of her business comes from her Instagram account. 95%.
Yeah. And that's a new wave or new normal for a lot of people. I mean, I was actually talking to a business coach sort of over the holiday, and she was referencing that her main focus for business, for leads, or say like LinkedIn. Like she doesn't focus on email. Like I literally was trying to talk to her about email marketing, and she didn't have anything to do with it. She's like, I don't care about it. I was like, I get my leads from LinkedIn. That's where I do a lot of nurturing. She doesn't even do like meetings anymore. Everything is all virtual. And so I think the shift I think the pandemic just sped up what was evolving, basically. But, there's still tried and true, practices. And that's why I'm excited about today's guest, because there's still things that you can do practically, to really amplify your business. And I think today's guest will definitely highlight that.
Absolutely. I'm really excited to have him on. It's funny. I was thinking about him this morning, and he and I have actually had a personal and business relationship for over a decade now. I was like, man, we have known each other a long time, seen a lot of different things together. One, I really appreciate who he is as a person. Him and his wife, Netta, both, they just have a tremendous amount of credibility with me. But the other thing too is Joe's always been the guy that I've looked to for sales training, always. This whole time that I've known him. I mean, that's one of the reasons. And I'm actually in another group that he has. It's called a War Games group. It's a private group on Facebook, and that's what it's about. It's about sales. And one of the things that I appreciate about him is, yes, there's a lot of systems and strategy, but a lot of it's relationships building. It's how to maximize that time. It's how to work smarter, not harder. It's how to do things the right way. And so I really love that about him, because I think those are all areas we need to learn to grow. And also what our perception of sales is, right? His slogan is, sales is only a numbers game until you become educated. And I 100% believe that. So I'm excited to have him on the show. Mr. Joe Ingram in the house, BDC Genius. Welcome, Joe.
Hello. I was all excited about who Todd was talking about, and then I realized it was me. And I was like, well, ouch. I guess I better deliver something here. So, good morning, all. Good morning.
Well, you always tend to do that, so it works out good. Yes. We're happy to have you here. Yes, so BDC Genius. So let's rewind a little bit and talk a little bit. I mean, really, you have been in the sales game for a really, really long time. and I'm sure you've seen different evolutions of it. You know, it's not the same. Well, gosh, I remember when I had first gotten into sales, we were talking like Tom Hopkins and flashcards and all those types of things. And so much has evolved since then. So talk a little bit of just about your journey, why BDC Genius, you know, what made you go out? And I know you're more than just servicing auto dealerships now.
Correct. So thanks for having me on. One of the things I want to point out, so like I'm an electrical engineer by degree. And so that doesn't mean or equate to sales in most of the world. And when you look at this, right, I sat down, I got my engineering degree. I worked in aerospace manufacturing for 10 years. It was brutal in the fact that it's all based on government spending. So everything ends up, it's like every 3 months, it's like, do we have a job? Oh, we do. Okay, keep going. And so for me, when I got into engineering, I would go in, sit down with the whole group of engineers. They lock us all in one room, and then they sit down and say, this is what you're designing. And then I got in trouble all the time from, you know, supervisors going, dude, shut up. And I'm like, what? And they're like, shut up. And I'm like, well, my work's done. I'm helping so-and-so get theirs done and doing. And they were like, okay, this dude must need to be in management. And it was like, okay, so I escalated really quickly through the management thing, but it's because of the ability to build rapport with people. It's the ability to actually get knowledge from my head to somebody else's, or can I learn something from somebody else? Most people have a real issue with, and not being rude, but dumbing it down. And they don't know how to get from what's up here to get it into something actionable for other people. And so when I look at that, I say, we have an issue today with getting what's in our head out of our head. And my answer was, well, if I can understand you, so I would say, okay, Todd goes, Joe, brr, and he says something way up here. And I'm like, okay, I can understand it. Now I can go and train somebody else based off of what he said, because I can now step it down to where the person actually is. And that's where my genius came in. It was, if you could explain it to a 3-year-old or a 4-year-old, then you really know it. But the thing is that some people can't. And when you work in the engineering world like I did, there were guys that, you know, they started talking and they have equations in their conversations. And I'm like, this is brutal. You're hurting my head to talk to you. So I just looked at that. And so because of my ability to adapt to people around me, that was what caused sales to be much more natural than what's there. And again, in my family, I'm one of the shyest and quietest ones. Okay.
Wow.
And Todd, your face does it all, right? Natalie's like, whoo, I'm so glad I only met some of your family, right? Over a decade. It's, but like my dad used to own a gas station. And so we owned a gas station and it was in Diamond Bar, and there's an on-ramp and an off-ramp at the north end of town. And then there's one at the south end of town. And people, I saw this real time. People got off the freeway at the north end that were traveling south and drove 4 miles down the side streets, right? Or the main thoroughfare that connected, and would pull into his gas station, honk, and then say, hey, Joe, that's his name as well. He copied me. Joe, what's the joke of the day? And then my dad would come out, give them a joke. They would laugh and then drive off and go get on the south entrance and continue going south. And so I was like, wow, it's so much more about people than anything else. Mm-hmm. And to me, I saw humor is a great way to impact people, because if every time you get around somebody, you're laughing, then you never have a problem with that person joining in on a conversation or coming over.
Yeah,
right?
You want to be around them all the time.
The Eeyore people you don't want around you, right? They just walk up to your house and like, whoa, bother. And you're like, what? Go away. But yeah, that's the background. That's what got me up to this point in time.
So being so relationship oriented, how do you do that when we're talking about virtual prospecting? Because I think about even my LinkedIn now, how you're talking about someone getting all their prospects from LinkedIn. If all of us, we could go onto our LinkedIn right now and we have 75 DMs of someone with a robot sending us a message, right? So half the time I'm not even looking at them because it's just spam.
Correct.
It's probably my first mistake, right? But so how do you do that?
Right. Well, you know, the best part about LinkedIn is they've already sent the message with all the spam in it. So now when it says here's a connection request, there you can already see underneath it that they wrote something, and you're like, oh, as soon as I hit yes to connect, it's going to go bing, and there's going to be a little note in there that comes in, right? Stop and understand. So I will tell you, my clients and the people that I help, I have a relationship with them. Okay, but that relationship came from the results that I delivered for them. And everybody forgets that and thinks, oh, we got to build all these relations. I don't want a relationship with a vendor who doesn't do anything but charge me.
Right.
Okay, so you have to have tangible results in order to warrant the beginning of a relationship. So if you're going to sit down and say, oh, I want to go prospecting in a virtual place, for one, you're going to have to learn language that plays in the virtual space. So, for example, when I go into companies and I sit down and train with them, I say, look, if you're watching this and you say, okay, there's 3 ways that human beings communicate. We communicate through body language. We communicate through tone and inflection. Okay. And we communicate through words. And if I asked you guys and said, okay, so what is it that carries the most of the communication with us while we're sitting here staring at each other?
Well, it's traditionally body language. I don't know if it's different since we're on screen.
It's 55% body language if you can see the other person. Okay. So then what does that say? It goes, okay, 38% tone and inflection, 7% words. So are the words really important if they're 7% out of 100?
No, they are completely irrelevant.
It's really not. I mean, that's even a bad tip if you're tipping at 7%. Okay? So when you stop and realize that words don't matter if we're face to face. So if I looked at you guys and I said, yes. Okay. Your brain just went, whoa, that didn't match. And then depending on how you process information is which one you thought I meant. Because we have people that are visual, auditory, and people that are kinesthetic. Okay. So when you look at that and go, if I'm a visual person and I saw you shake your head, I go, well, right there, body language and the fact that I visually saw you do it tells me, hey, guess what? You meant no, but you said yes by mistake. So now what happens? So now we're going to go virtual. How are we going to go virtual? I'm going to tell you right now, go pick up the phone and call somebody. When you pick up the phone, what did we just lose?
Face to face.
We lost body language. That's 55% of our ability to communicate. So now you're taking people that are your face-to-face salespeople, or you yourself are like, I'm in real estate. Get me at a house with my prospects, and boom, we're good. Put me in front of anybody, and I'll get them to sign with me to sell their house or to buy their next house. Okay, financial services. I want to go sit down with you at the kitchen table. I want to sit down and build out your stuff. Well, face to face, you have the ability to communicate well because your words don't matter.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you pick up the telephone to go set up an appointment to go do that, okay, you lost 55% of your ability to communicate with your piss poor words that were only 7%. Okay. So you're out there using 7% words over the phone. Well, you don't have your body to communicate with you, to give that message. And so now, as the person on the other end of the phone, I don't realize what you're saying half the time. Okay. Because when I pick up that telephone, it now becomes 80-20, 80% tone and inflection, 20% words. And you go, okay, so then I'm going to tell you, what's the most important part? Tone and inflection. What do you sound like over the phone? Do you sound like your cell phone customer service? Nobody wants to deal with that. And you're calling so wireless where you're the most important part of my day. You're like, shut up. I don't believe you. I don't believe you. When I lived out in Ranch Cucamonga, I called my cable company once. And the lady answered the phone and she goes, thank you for calling Charter Communications. This is Allison. It'd be my pleasure to assist you. And I was like, wow, Allison, that was great. I teach on tone and inflection. That was wonderful. Bravo. And she goes, it was like this. She goes, yeah, they sent us to a class for like 2 weeks on how we're supposed to talk over the phone. And that's what they taught us. And I was like, go back for service to you. Go back. Right. And I was like, well, you nailed that one.
Yeah.
Right. And she was like, and how can I be of assistance? She went right back into character. Okay. But again, what is your messaging coming across over the phone, especially when you realize, hey, guess what? I don't have my body to communicate for me. If you use 7% words while you're in a 20% word world of over the phone, you're already at a deficit of 13%. But going from 7 to 20 is almost 300% more important.
Yeah.
Okay. And you're hurting yourself because you're doing the same thing that you would do face to face without the ability to use your body language. Now go one step further to LinkedIn, to chat, to text. How many issues have we all had with text? Right? In text, I lost tone and inflection. It's not gone. Tone and inflection is actually interpreted by the person reading the email, the text, or the chat. Okay. So have an argument with your significant other. You leave the house 10 minutes later. You get a text that says, have a great day. How did they say it?
Sarcastically.
You know how they said it. Have a great day.
You did not mean it.
You hit a pothole on the way to work.
I hear it now.
Okay. So understand, you're sending off these messages without the ability for them to interpret tone. If they're in a pissed off mood, let's just, for example, call the person Karen. Okay. So if Karen is reading your message and Karen's not in a good mood, because Karens are never in a good mood, they get that message and now they're going to start talking to you. When they get that message and it says, I was wondering if I could help you with your business today. Why don't we set up a cup of coffee over virtual, blah, blah, blah. They're going to turn around and go, why do you think my business is hurting? What makes you think you can come and approach me like that? And now you get this long email back. Guess what? It's not going to be an actual customer of yours later, right? But it's going to be somebody who goes to your page, says something bad about you, cold emailing or cold calling and things like that. So you want to be able to establish, for one, what do you think their goal is? What do you think they're trying to do? So I have a friend, Kimberly Slavic. I was 2 years ago today, it popped up on Facebook that says, we've been friends for 2 years. But I heard her on a sales podcast because I'm always going to be digesting as much as I can. I heard her on it. I got her book. I read her book. In her book, it said, fill out this little word problem thing. And once you fill it out, what I want you to do is email me the answer. So then I did. She's like, I've sold 100,000 books and less than 100 people have ever emailed me this. So we became friends. But the logic that she put out there was brilliant, which is, I don't want to ask you a bunch of questions. I want to put out the end result scenario and then ask you if that's where you're at. So again, if you sent out a cold email within LinkedIn that said, my sales reps are fantastic at converting virtual prospects into sold products or services. That's the first line. In your head, you have to stop right now and think to yourself, is that a true situation? And then I say, now pick one of the following answers. I wish that were true. Okay. Or it is my as is situation, or that doesn't apply to me. What are most people going to reply back? I wish it was true.
Yeah.
I sure wish that was true. Okay. But who told them they had a problem? They did. I didn't tell you had a problem. I gave you a desired outcome. And if your outcome is not that spot, then you have to say, guess what? I didn't. Actually, Masha, it's genius. But yeah, and again, that's her. That's Kimberly Slavic. I get her book. Yeah. But again, so I've adapted that. And so I surround myself with other sales experts and we all play games. For example, like I'm friends with Janine Driver. Janine Driver is the foremost expert on body language. Okay. Now, what I find funny is that Janine, if we text back and forth, everything she sends me is an audio note. Right. And I'm like, shouldn't the body language lady be sending videos and stuff? Okay. But I always laugh because I'm like, it's a text message. I want to read it. I don't want to listen to it, right? So that's one of the things to remember is the medium in which you're engaging with your prospect. So if I'm on LinkedIn, if I'm out cold prospecting somebody, a video link will go much further than anything else you will, because now I get to see you and watch you interact, and I get your body language, and I get your tone, inflection, and your wording.
Wow, that's good.
And so
That's
that's
really
like,
good.
even on LinkedIn, Cargo Margot is her name on LinkedIn. We know Margot.
He's doing it.
Her little picture is a video clip, like a GIF that has voice. So when you hover over it on LinkedIn, it pops up and she goes, "Hi, I'm Margot. I can do it." And it's like, okay. So now if you want to engage with this person, you already know who she is, right? And that's where you look. And again, but how are you leveraging technology to get yourself in the best light possible? So when you get to email text, it's 100% the words you're using. Most people are still using the 7% words that require their tone, inflection, and their body language to communicate that across. And that's why you fail. That's why you have very, very poor performance. And again, you listen to your sales reps, listen to yourself. I hate the phone. Right? I hate email text. I hate chat. Nobody does anything on chat. Okay. In the automotive space, it's one of our highest converting actual platforms for leads. If somebody goes to your website, they click on the chat box, because why? They want to engage. The whole game is two-way communication. Once I get two-way communication, and this is where, like, for me, what we were talking about earlier was that it's about your ability to convert. It's about your ability to take a prospect and convert it into a sale. And if you are stuck in the fact that I have to be in front of you, you've just lost. And look at, what did COVID do to the world? It shut us down and said, nobody go stand within 6 feet of each other. Well, it's really difficult to build a connection with somebody when you're each holding your arms out saying, stay back. Or worse, everybody stay home and live on a computer. Okay. And now how do you build rapport? How do you do all these things? And so that's where you have to stop and look and say, again, what can I do to make myself better? What skill sets can I gain? But I think it's really important that you guys go and determine and again, most people haven't. When I start a class and I go to a company and I start doing a training, okay, the first thing I do is play a funny video. Okay. And because I need to judge you. It's a prank video. So I put out this video and Natalie is laughing the way she's laughing, but Todd Social over here, he's going, that was rude. And I can't believe they did that and what have you, right? I like walk right out to the manager. I'm like, that person don't belong in sales. Okay. This person don't belong in sales. There's going to be a HR nightmare coming at you. Right. And they're like, what? Okay. But I nail it every time. I'm like, okay, great. The more you participate in the training, the more I know. But if we can get you laughing, then you can absorb the information and you can be part of what we're doing. Awesome. And so to me, play a funny video and then I hand out an assessment. And that assessment determines if you're visual, auditory, or kinesthetic as a learner. And a lot of people don't know how they learn. And if you don't know how you learn, how can I hold you accountable to learning? So if I sat down, so I'm going to say Natalie is visual. So Natalie needs to learn by seeing what's going on. So what does that mean? It means if I turned around and go, hey, and I write out something, forever she will see what I wrote on the whiteboard in her head.
Yeah, it's true.
Okay. Now, an auditory person, if I say Todd is auditory and I'm looking at his ears sit up a little bit higher on his head than his eyes, so he's going to be auditory more. When I look at that, he will always hear what I said. Mm-hmm. The kinesthetic person is somebody who has to do to learn. Mm-hmm. So now go imagine all of our classrooms for our kids growing up. Nobody goes, okay, hey, this is how we're going to do this, this, and this. That's why they always told us, show your work. Shut up. I don't want to show my work. Okay. I'm auditory. Let me tell you how I did it.
Yes.
But if you don't know who you are, so in my class, if Natalie is visual, then anytime she looks down at her phone, what do I know just happened?
I checked out.
She checked out. She checked out, right? And so I can sit back. Once I got that for everybody in the classroom, anybody who's training, I'm like, hey, good. So Natalie looks down. I'm like, well, you're gone. okay, where Todd will turn his ear to me. And that's how you'll notice, right? If you look, he's always looking down,
Yeah,
even
he
on
is
the
right
screen
now.
here, because he's putting his ear towards where the words are coming out.
Yeah.
Okay? Because why? Auditory people point what their main input is. Now, it doesn't mean he can't see me. If I wave at him, he just doesn't go, I ignored that. Okay. We all have all three of it in there, but we got to understand who we are first. So I sit down and I go, look, auditory people, you can look down, just point your ear in my direction. Visual people, you better be staring at me or I know you ain't looking, you ain't learning. If you start doing this, I know that's where your learning is going. Okay. But then I also say, and now all you kinesthetic people, right? If you're kinesthetic, you better be taking notes. Those are the people that doodle while people are talking, because they're doodling because they need something to do, but you're teaching them in a way they can't. So if you're going to teach a computer program, all I got to do with Natalie is show her what to do, and then I can hand her the mouse, she'll go do it. Todd, I go, you're going to click here, go here, do this. Then he hears every one of those back. You give the mouse to a kinesthetic person, they're like, I don't know what you said the whole time. It made sense when I heard it and saw it, but it doesn't. And I give him the mouse and go, now move it up here, click here, do this, click here, click here. You have to understand your team. You have to understand yourself, and then you have to understand your prospect. The better you get at understanding who you are, the better it is for you to actually meet with somebody and get them moving in the right direction. Okay, but we're so lost, and we're like, it's just me, and that's how I am. Deal with it. Okay, stay broke, right? When I do personality training,
how do we interact more effectively with other people? Because even as we're having this conversation, I keep thinking about my virtual assistant. How can I be more effective with her? Because there is a bit of that breakdown between the two of us where, because I am visual and then we're through a computer. And so I'm like blowing up my screen as big as I can so I can see it good.
right?
And she's more auditory. And so we're trying to, put together SOPs for us to help us to be more effective because of that. But it has been, it's a challenge.
Great. So as her as auditory, so understand the benefit of learning all of the differences is that you can intentionally choose what the other person's learning style is. Okay. If I go through and I'm actually doing training, if I'm doing a training in a class, I will say the same thing 3 different ways. And no one picks up on it because the visual people only catch the visual cues. The auditory people only hear what they want to hear. Okay. And the kinesthetic people are only paying attention to what is physically happening. So that's what I want you to understand is that, again, she's auditory. Then you need to rehearse several times what it is you're going to tell her you need to do. But for you, I would come back with the feedback loop and say, okay, and whatever her name is, let's say Todd's your virtual assistant. You would say, this is what I'm looking to do, da, 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 da. And then I would say, Todd, tell me what you heard. And then Todd's going to come back and go, this. And so if you look at that, then what happens? You go, Todd will tell you right away, this is what I heard you say. And then you can go, no, stop. This is what it is. But before you get off of a video call or a regular call, right? Auditory people, we love the phone. We don't have an issue with that. I tell everybody all the time, I look just like Brad Pitt over the phone. Okay. I can be whoever I need to be, do what I need to do, all that. So that's what I want you guys to understand.
Awesome.
Again, you have to adapt.
No, I love that. That's great feedback. Thank you. We're going to go into a quick commercial break. We are with Joe Ingram with the BDC Genius. We will be right back. Go refill your cup of coffee and we'll see you soon.
Hello and welcome to the Los Angeles Tribune. Since 1886, our name has been a part of the world of journalism. We've earned a reputation for being a publication that practices integrity, authenticity, and responsibility. For general inquiries, contact today. Thank you on behalf of the Los Angeles Tribune team.
One of the problems that I've had thus far is that I'm going on my experience I'm building a business on my heartache. And one of the things that I've had to take out of that is you can't build a business entirely on emotion. And so this allows me to take the emotion out of it. This is what you need to do, whether you like it or not.
We are back. Joe Ingram with BDC Genius. This morning, we are talking about virtual prospecting, how to turn that virtual prospect into a sale. So, Todd, I'm real curious with your, marketing background, social media professor. What are some of your thoughts and feedback on our topic this morning and some of the, things that Joe's talking about?
Well, I got some amazing questions to ask Joe because I actually started in sales, selling cars. That was like one of my first jobs. And that's how I realized I was an auditory person. Because before that, I just thought I just flashed through the wall, like football touchdown. And one of the things I think when you talk about language, which I think is important, some people confuse the language of how to communicate or build a relationship with words. But they think that creating a lot of words is actually communicating. And so what I really wanted to dive in or ask you, especially for people who now have to do a hybrid normal, some of the relationship is online, some of it's offline. So that person now has to balance, whereas before they could probably pick or choose, right? But now they kind of really balance because every meeting's not going to be in person because of guidelines, whatever, new circumstances. And every sales opportunity is not going to be in person. So for you as a sales specialist and someone who understands that, how do you communicate your language or your way to kind of communicate to that prospect now who you don't know which one they're going to be? They're going to be online or offline. How would you go about doing that?
So one of the things I want to throw out is that, and again, you've said it several times, Todd, because you picked up on it. It's your language. What are you doing? Because if you get to the point of your words are 100% of your communication, which is email, text, chat, it's 100% your words. So if we elevate our words to 100% responsible for our overall understanding, then I can take those words, use them on the telephone where it's only 20% and get better results. I could take those same words that stand alone, put them when I'm face to face, and now my 7% words are replaced with 100% words. You get better conversion. And so we have to learn how to communicate better. So if you stop and understand and say, the words that I'm putting out, what pictures, okay, are you putting in someone's head with the words you're putting together? So every time as human beings, we think in pictures, sounds, and feelings. So what are you engaging in your prospect with the words you're using, with your body language, and with your tone and inflection? So most people, like, have you ever heard when you're on the telephone, you should smile because people can hear that.
And stand up.
Yeah.
And it's a true fact in the fact that when you smile, okay, when you're smiling, you actually change the size of your mouth, so that the frequency increases. So it becomes higher. Now, if you get really good, you don't have to smile and you can sound like you are really excited over the phone. Okay, but that's just playing with tone and inflection. And so understanding, I want you to elevate your words. Like Natalie has heard this from me way too many times, but she's got over 10 years of listening to Joe going, stop. Okay. I tell people, take certain words out of your vocabulary. Learn and understand that you're hurting your deals, you're hurting your prospects, hurting your ability to convert by using poor language. Okay. So I always say, take no problem out of your vocabulary. We don't say that. People say it all day long. You go, well, I want to do this. And you're like, no problem. Okay. Understand, if the brain, like we just said, thinks in pictures, sounds, and feelings. If I said, Todd,
Yeah.
Do not think of an elephant. Okay. Todd, don't think of a kitten right now. Okay. Everybody who's listening who isn't Todd is still going, guess what? An elephant popped in your head, a kitten popped in your head. I don't know what elephant looked like for you. Okay, could have been a stuffed one from when you were a kid that you still have, on your bed, but I don't know that. So would you understand I'm creating pictures in your head?
Yeah.
Are the words and your tone and inflection, are they actually creating the right picture? Okay, you said you started in car sales.
Yep.
So one of the running jokes is Robert De Niro selling cars. He pops the trunk, and what does he say? You see that? You could fit like 4 dead bodies in there. Okay. So we're laughing because it's funny, but in actuality, you had to see a trunk pump. I don't know which car it was, and there's bodies in there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's not something positive for somebody to think about buying a car. Right. And too often when we're in the sales games, we're going to go tell them bad things that you're trying to avoid instead of the positive things. Okay. So to me, I pop the trunk or the rear hatch and I go, see that? Your whole Costco run fits in there. Okay. Guess what? What did you just see? Todd, you saw your Costco run. Natalie saw her Costco run. And I didn't have to give you what it is. I didn't say, how do you stack this? No, you put it in there. And it's the stuff you buy because I'm controlling the pictures in your head.
Mm-hmm.
And so is your language controlling the picture to the positive? Earlier, when I took Kimberly's line and said, hey, you know what? My sales team is fantastic at converting virtual prospects into sold products or services. Each one, you both had your business in mind and what that would look like without me knowing anything about it. So it's the language that we're using, the language that's going to get the right picture to pop in somebody's head that's in there. And so I want you to think about, what language am I saying? So if I said no problem, based on the elephant discussion we had earlier, okay, no problem means you have to put a problem there to take it away. Okay, now you have made somebody unconsciously uneasy.
Yeah.
When you feel uneasy, do you want to grab your wallet and pull out some money?
No.
Do you want to sign digitally?
No.
No.
Yeah.
I don't want to, because you made it uneasy. But what if you change that to absolutely, certainly, my pleasure, or of course? Because when you say no problem, you're trying to say this isn't a big deal, right? Or I'm happy to do it. So that's what you should say. There's only one fast food place that we let close for 1 day a week. Okay? And they talk to us different. Everything you say, they say my pleasure. Okay? They say my pleasure and we go, "Oh, it's your pleasure. I'm such a good person because I made you happy." Okay. When I teach people over the phone, I say, "Thank you for calling ABC Company. This is Joe speaking. I'm happy to help you." Okay. When I say, "How can I help you?" Okay. If I were to say, "Todd, how can I help you?" So Todd, you know all social media. You know all the stuff that's there, which means if you called me and said, "Joe, how can I help you?" Who's in charge? Joe. You just gave all your power and authority to me. If you said, "Joe, let's talk about what we can do for your business because I'm happy to help you," you kept all your power. But again, we pick up the phone and go, "How can I help you?" That's customer service. I'm talking sales. I got to sell you before you become a customer. So I can't use the customer service word tracks in my sales approach. And that's where people fail, is that they're going, "I just want to be nice." No. One of the best books I ever read was Challenger Sale. Okay.
I love that you're bringing that up, Joe. Sorry to jump in there, but I'm sure with all of our networking groups, the first thing when you meet somebody, you ask what separates them from everybody else. What's the number one answer? It's always customer service, right?
Right.
Always.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
Don't you think in the industry what you're in, everybody is focused on customer service? Okay.
Exactly.
We're always focused on customer service. We just don't deliver. Right. If I said, well, I'm focused on making money, can I still be broke? Yeah. Okay. So what's the best thing about you? Okay. So how long have you had your clients? What's your longest running client? Okay. And then all of a sudden they go like 6 months. You're like, well, then you aren't focused on customer service.
Right.
Unless you have a one product sale done relationship. I sell a t-shirt. Okay. But if you are an actual service for somebody else, it's how long have you had your clients? That'll tell you. What's your attrition rate?
Yes.
Right? What does it cost you to acquire a customer? How long do you keep them? Right? And that's going to tell you whether or not you have good customer service or not.
Yeah.
Yeah. I get a lot of customers when I cut my price in half.
Mm.
Okay. So what does that mean? It means nobody wants you unless you're cheaper, which means what you're offering isn't worth what you're originally asking for. And you're hoping for an idiot
Right.
who doesn't know any better. Okay. By the way, did we mention I'm just going to keep it real with you?
Yeah, I was like, don't hold back. That's what I was thinking right there. I was like, don't hold back.
I'm hoping Natalie at least warned everybody. But I want you to be real with yourself, because gut check moments is what determines your business. The whole point of this show is to what? Get your business moving. Everybody's watching should be some kind of business owner. And guess what? You can blow smoke to yourself too.
Yes.
Okay. Stop buying your own hype. Your bank account tells you what you're doing. And that's what I want you to understand. Get in there, go sell more, you make more.
That's powerful, because see, a lot of this is understanding, separating like context from content. Like a lot of people say, oh, I just want to make people happy, or I just want to serve people. And that's BS, because like you said, if you're really trying to serve people, you're really trying to make a sale, and then the service comes after. But I think a lot of people miss that element because they don't know where to start. Because most people are not selling; they're actually trying to maybe please their ego or please their pride, because they're new online, or they're new to Zoom. Like I saw this last year so much. People were so new to Zoom. Like I was just like, dude, how are you new to Zoom? Like it's like 4 years old.
But the ones that still go, I can't log in. And you're like, how do you not log into Zoom? Hit the button and you're in. Yeah. Like, I don't get that.
So I think it's important for the listeners to know, like, you really have to understand your language and how you're putting it out, because I see people do it all the time. They put out content aimlessly, thinking that they're going to get, paid, or, even when they put together their sales funnels, like they're not sales funnels. They're just happy funnels. Make people happy to be able to read them, instead of actually getting to the point. And I love what you're talking about, because this context is missing. It's a missing element, because if a person doesn't understand, like me knowing that, I'm an auditory learner. So what happened for me in my sales career was, everywhere I went, I had to really listen in to what was the process. So then I could actually go out and turn the other side of me on. But it was hard for me. Like I did like salary sales training. I sold furniture as well. So I walked down those roads. But it was always like, okay, but I had to hear what was the real purpose behind it, because it was always just this fluffy BS that was being said by anybody I was being trained by. And then I realized I don't want to buy from a person like that. Yeah. I want to buy from a person I can relate to. So I think people can't make that crossover online when they're taking that content, because they're like, okay, well, this sounds good offline when I'm in my networking meeting.
Right.
But it doesn't sound good online.
Exactly. And if I'm sitting here looking at you and I'm still speaking garbage words, it's more apparent now than when we're sitting together and I can go, ha, 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 and then I push you back physically and you're like, oh, hey, I just ignored all that stupid stuff you just said.
Yeah.
But on Zoom, we can't. And then we can go play it back. I mean, how many times can we sit back and go, hey, let me watch. So anybody who's going to watch the replay, go back. I want you to pay attention and see how many times Todd used the word hear. Okay. So he had to hear the reason behind the training. He had to hear what they wanted him to do. And so the auditory people used the words that are there. Okay. So if I said, Todd, do you got it? He goes, I hear you, because he's auditory. Where Natalie will go, I see where you're coming from. I can see where you want me to go. I can see that you will use the words. You will use the words to go through. And that's what.
So what does kinesthetic use? Feel?
Yeah, I feel where you're coming from. Right.
Interesting.
And so you're always going to reflect back to what it is. Everybody uses all three. Okay. A blind person is the only person who's not visual. Okay. A deaf person can't be auditory.
Right.
Okay? That's all I'm telling you, is that otherwise we're going to use feeling, sound, and what we hear, right, and what we see to process information.
So let's talk about that. What is the most effective way for someone to do that then on social media? Is it, hey, I'm live every day. Hey, I do more video content so people are getting to know me. Hey, I'm sending a 30-second video pitch to somebody in there. All of the above. What is the most effective way to do that?
So if you understand that, now again, I have another friend of mine, Brian Galkey, with Subtle Skills. Brian does facial analysis. So he looks at your face and tells you, like earlier I said, well, I can tell you Todd is auditory because his ears sit higher on his head, right? Typically auditory people have bigger ears than they have eyeballs. So if you look at my eyes, all squinty and what have you, but then you look at the size of my ears, right over here, you're like, oh, wow. Okay. Where Natalie is more, her eyes are bigger and brighter when she's sitting there. So she can go both ways because her ears are sitting almost even, but her eyes are still higher on her head than her ears. Okay. And so looking at that means she could listen to you and understand as well. But when you look at somebody, you can determine what they are by looking at a couple pictures on social media. So if you look and go, they're visual people, then on visual people, guess what? Email is okay. Text is okay for those individuals. But again, if you sent a video, would it work better for a visual person? It would. And if I can look for an auditory person, I upset Todd.
No, you upset me.
Todd just I'm getting all hurt. He's talking about my ears.
I hear you.
I know.
I heard everything.
But if I looked and I saw Todd's picture and I went through it and I went, ooh, he's auditory, I would send a voice note. Because why? The video's distracting. It's not his preferred methodology. Okay. And so again, a video will help you with the kinesthetic person because they can pick up the actual feeling behind what you're saying.
It's interesting too, because Todd's always in the podcast realm too. Now that you, right? Clubhouse, he's always doing stuff like that. And it's like, definitely makes sense.
What's powerful about that is for people to know that maybe there's social networks that they're using that are not compelling to what their core, audience is as far as their response and how they're going to respond. So there could be people right now that say, everybody says business is LinkedIn, right? That's not really, accurate. But business for you may be, for a lot of people today, or Clubhouse, or business for a lot of people is YouTube. Like there are people who only learn visually. And so their interests, like I have a cousin, he's 15 years old. He YouTube all day. I can ask him anything about YouTube and he'll find it. Now, if I ask him to like listen to something, won't do it. That's just not his thing at all whatsoever. So I get that. So that's powerful because if you learn where you play and you can communicate and you can relate a lot better, then you can actually get closer to actually being more compelling and authentic in your words versus trying to find those secret sales scripts and everything else. And you can't repeat it because it doesn't feel like, in your comfort zone.
Right. And I will tell you, like, for example, Clubhouse is made for auditory people.
Yeah.
And so the easiest transition is to go to a podcast from there, from that. And so I described it the whole time when it first came out. I was like, it's like an interactive podcast. I could talk to the person who's actually doing the podcast. And so that to me was all adopted for the auditory people. My bride, as Natalie knows, she's very, very visual. So it stresses her out to sit on Clubhouse. She's like, what? I mean, she can play it in the background.
Yeah.
Okay, which is kind of like music to her or something if people are talking, but she has to be visually stimulated doing something else and letting this come in. If you sit her down in a chair and say, here, okay, last night I was on Clubhouse. I haven't been on for a while, but I was on last night and I'm just sitting there and she's over there going, right? And as a visual person, guess what? Go jump on TikTok. You're going to be gone and for hours and not even know it. Okay. And it's like, understand that's when you put people together with the program that matches.
Yeah.
So that's what you want to do. But again, YouTube is the number 2 search engine in the world. Why? Because I can feel it, I can see it, and I can hear it. So it's going to hit all 3, and video is going to be the largest way to encompass the people that are there. So if I look and go, you're auditory, you're not going to be necessarily a visual person, but it doesn't matter. If I send a video, you can listen to it and you can turn your head down and not stare at it. But again, I want to trigger as many as I can. So that's why video is so popular. And that's why you're going to get a better conversion rate if you have a real quick video. Like I will do proposals for companies. My proposals are like 8 pages long. They scare me sometimes.
Yeah.
I look at that and then now I get somebody at the company who goes, dude, I love it. This is great. Just send it to me and I'll present it to the CEO. And I'm like, shut up.
Yeah.
You're telling me you can sell me better than I can sell me?
Right.
Right. So then what do? I do a screen capture, right? Video where I explain the entire thing.
Yeah.
So then when I send them my proposal, I go, look, I know you do a slam dunk on selling this proposal, but here's a video of me explaining everything on there. So just watch that first before you go talk to the CEO. That way, if they ask you questions, you have the answer. Then I uploaded it to YouTube as an unpublished one. So it's a hidden link. So you only person who can watch it has the link. And then I look over and go, there's like 15 views of this video. It's not that one person just watching the same thing 15 times. He just forwarded it off to everybody who had to make a decision. And so I'm actually in front of everybody explaining the proposal and going through. And my conversions go through the roof because I'm the one selling me.
That's very attractive. So what do you do? Just bust out your phone and record yourself doing the proposal? My guess is in 8 pages. That seems like a long proposal, but I'm sure you're not pitching somebody for 30 minutes when you send them this video. So at least I wouldn't think.
No, this is just me explain. I go, look, so this line item number so-and-so, that's $5,000 for this. This is what it includes. But
so how long are your videos?
Probably less than 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because if I'm sending you a proposal, I already did a sales presentation.
Right.
Now the answer is put something together that I can sign. So then I'll explain everything that's there really quick. Again, remember, it's the same thing. Why is TikTok so popular? What's the number one thing on YouTube right now? Shorts. Right? Why? Because our attention span currently is less than that of a goldfish.
Yeah.
So if that's the thing, keep it as short as you can. Keep it as energetic as you can. Keep it so that everybody's going to feel good and go through. But dealing with businesses today, you're dealing most companies that have over 100 people. It's at least 7 people have to decide on a vendor. So now go think about it. There's 3 of us on here. 2 of us are auditory, 1's visual. Okay. Now go add 4 more people and see, am I doing it the right way? Right. Am I putting it together right? And so again, you got to understand personalities. You got to understand learning assessments. You got to understand you have to understand yourself first. Okay. The average closing percentage, regardless of industry, is 25%. Okay. And if you stop and say, okay, there's 4 distinct personality types in the world today. If there's 4, what are the odds that we're the same? 1 in 4. What percentage is that? 25%. So you ain't hella good. You just sell people like you.
Right. Yeah.
And these are all the people that you go, you know what? It wasn't even like I was selling. It was so easy. Of course it was. So what happened if you were able to check your ego and yourself and learned another personality type? Potential 50% closing rate. All I'm telling you guys is that you are holding yourself back more than anything else because you believe everybody's like me,
Right.
which is not the case. You're 75% wrong. Okay. So again, if I check your ego at the door, as soon as you check your ego and you learn something about another way of learning things, then all of a sudden you can increase closing percentages. Okay. Otherwise, what's the answer? Hire somebody opposite of you. You know what they're going to do? Frustrate the heck out of you every day.
That is the truth.
They're going to frustrate you, but you're like, I need to get that other 25%.
Yeah. They're worth the investment. That 25%.
It
right?
is.
You're
But
irritating
can
me,
you
but it's
keep your
25%.
sanity? Can you keep your sanity is the issue.
That's why I'm creating the SOPs, Joe.
Exactly.
Otherwise, I'm going to go crazy.
So me, I can get lost in a spreadsheet all day long. Okay. It's like I get phone calls. So my bride will call me and go, hey, now she's got to the point where it's because she's so visual, she will FaceTime. So I know I'm working on a spreadsheet if she FaceTimes me. Because she'll say, okay, here's my spreadsheet. Right? So she's like, this is it. So now I'm like, I need to be able to look and see, is it here? Like we've done this before where I'm like, okay, there's a little flag in the bottom left of your computer because you're on your PC at work. So click the little flag. I don't have a flag. Okay, so look in the bottom left, what's there? Little flag. I thought it wasn't there, right? But she's looking here, not where I'm telling her to do. Where I'm like, okay, but again, just understand the other individual. You can recognize it in the other individual. You can use that part of your personality, of your ability to comprehend where they're at and utilize that. So if I was going to sit with a visual person, I do everything knowing that they need me to provide them with visual cues. And so, but auditory people use a word wrong with an auditory person. Oh, I can't hear nothing you've said after that at all. At all. It's nails on a chalkboard.
Oh, that's hysterical. That's hysterical. I'm going to keep that in mind for our next executive meeting, Todd.
Yeah, just throw in some extra words expeditiously.
Yeah.
Be like, that doesn't make any sense. What are you doing? Yeah.
Awesome. Joe, thanks so much for joining us this morning. So you can find Joe at thegeniuslinks.com. So Joe Ingram, BDC Sales Genius. You can go to geniuslinks.com if you want to interact with Joe some more. He's obviously on every social media platform. Don't be fooled, right? We've had a great time this morning, but there's a reason why he has been branded as Genius Links, right? He has a lot of great content depending on whatever industry that you're in. So go to geniuslinks.com, find him on the social media platforms. He has a War Games group you can join if you want to learn more about sales. So Joe, thanks for being with us, making us laugh. It was an awesome way to start our Monday morning, and we appreciate you being here.
Abs, thank you so much. If they go to Genius Links and go to the very bottom, there's a little section that says secret. And it's in a different shade, so it's trying to be hidden. But if they click on secret and they go into the secret page on my website, the learning style assessment is there.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
So they can download it, and then it's 12 questions, answer them, right? And then it'll tell you whether you're visual, auditory, or kinesthetic.
Awesome. Awesome. Did you see this? Masha put, thank you, Joe. I think this may have been my favorite episode so far. Oh,
well,
Masha.
I like Masha already then.
Yes.
All right. Good.
Awesome. All right. Thank you, Joe, so much. We'll see you again soon.
Thanks so much. Take care.
Thank you.
Wow. So much.
That was good stuff. Yeah, it was a lot of great information, right? A lot of great information. I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like I want to record everything now. I still had lots of questions for him.
Yeah, I mean, there's just tons of questions because they're selling with, we used to call it soul, like service on on unbelievable levels. And when you sell with soul, you're actually giving a piece of yourself. So this is how I learned sales and strategy. But more importantly, he makes that connection real. So that thing that you learn about yourself, because even though I'm auditory, there's times when I do have to shift, or we do have to shift in whoever we're dealing with. So it's good to understand that about yourself as a good starting point. So there's too many takeaways to just talk about.
It's so true. It's so true. Well, I'll tell you, one of mine was I'm going to start doing a lot more video content. Right?
You're made for it. You're made for it. And that's the thing, is like I could do more audio content, because a lot of times when I actually communicate the best is when I'm actually doing audio, because I'm thinking, and that's part of it. It's like you got to bring out your best self. And I think what he's doing is helping people kind of find their balance. And then when you macro that out to teams, how do you find the same balance in the teams? Because you can find yourself individually, but still be lost in your own team. And I think that's a key ingredient, that he has for what he's doing.
Absolutely. So awesome. Thank you to the LA Tribune and to I Do Systems for today's sponsorship. Do something today that will help you better your business. You guys will see you next week, Monday, 8 a.m. And in honor of Joe Ingram, I'm going to tell you guys, this is his little closing line every day. Go sell something. Have a beautiful week, everybody. We'll see you next week.
A wise man once asked, what if starting a business was like jumping out of a plane? And like 76% of businesses, what if 76% of parachutes failed before you reached the destination? What about those of you who have already jumped? Well, you may still have time to check your business. Pillar5.com, where businesses get it right.